Guys, this is the beginning of your independent studies project for the beginning of second semester and the third quarter. I decided this is going to be a month-long project, and this entire packet is designed to provide the structure that you need with giving you the autonomy that you all said you desired. You're still picking the thing that you want to study, but you're going to be doing it in a more orderly way, and hopefully this explanation of the packet will help you out with that. So, first off, checklist. Many people express a desire for checklist. I'm trying to be responsive with that. Next, on the back. So some of this is process and some of it is actual part of the product. This learning accountability contract, I just want you to consider some of the things in here. Write it down. I'm not going to guilt you later on by saying, well, you signed the contract. It's not about that. This is just that you're considering this at least one time before you're beginning. It's part of the process. So, next, interest survey. We've identified some people, myself included, the kind of people who either never start, constant switch, or never finish a project. Part of this is because you have varied interests and you want to study everything and you can't pick just one, so you end up doing nothing. I've been there. I know how that goes. Other times you think you're committing to something that's going to be, you're going to be studying for the rest of your life. We're avoiding that. This is a month-long project, okay? It can be part of a larger thing that you're doing throughout the year, but let's just keep it a bite-size for now. So, interest survey. How you're going to complete this is 5 things you like and are interested in right now. Write them, and then one open-ended question that you have about that topic. And we have already talked about how to write a good open-ended question. Well, you can do more of this later on. This is where I can help you. The next couple pages are just information. They're demonstrating some kind of learning experiences through authentic products. Anything from writing a policy paper and presenting it at the school board, to devising rubrics for assignments in other classes, to doing an editorial response to the newspaper. I just want it to be meaningful and relevant to you. Here's an entire list. That's for you. Next. These are the different ways you can express your learning through different products. This is a very long list. It may be overwhelming, but at least it's not, you can't say there are no ideas. There's a lot of ideas here, right? Also on the back, if you want it more focused on science or more focused on math, I've helped you out with that. We're going to come back to these sheets in a second. Literature task board. Some of these are create a board game. As a visual spatial learner, draw a storyboard with captions or a comic strip. Organize a roundtable discussion in this class or another class. There's a lot of different activities. You can make them as small or as big as you want. We'll come back to that. To fill this out later, your standards grid. Now what this actually is going to be is you identifying the skills that you want to develop as a learner or as a presenter, and then aligning the activities from these sheets with that. We'll come back to it. I'll show you. Next, I feel this was one of the most needed things, is you identifying important dates and milestones in a calendar. We can have collective checkpoints and collective due dates, but also I wanted to give you the opportunity to develop your own timelines and deadlines. So a calendar, useful. Essential project design elements checklist. Right here, this is a simple yes or no, or if you have more questions, we can talk about it. But is your project, or is this project in general, applying all the good elements of problem-based or project-based learning, which is incorporating your interests, making it authentic, not just taking notes, not just reading out of a book, but it's combining all of your learning into something that is meaningful to you, something that you've had a choice over. We're differentiating for your ability, your interest, the environment, the process, all the major hallmarks. It's happening right here. So, you fill this out. This is about halfway through the project, maybe closer towards the beginning. Are you making sure you're incorporating all the elements of a good project-based learning? Next, this is going to be a tentpole, kind of like a major step in the entire project, is developing a Pecha Kucha. This is 10 slides, 20 seconds apiece, rehearsed, answering at least 10, but up to 16 of these questions in here, talking about your topic, your essential question, how you're going to do this, identifying potential roadblocks, what you hope to gain, all the way to thinking about how your topic or is like a metaphor, is a metaphor for something else. If you're studying the brain is like a projector. The brain is like a wedding cake. You're working on a metaphor throughout this entire project that will help us when you start getting this out publicly. It'll help us understand. It'll help your conceptual thinking. The next parts are associated. They're just simple graphic organizers to help you take notes from your resources. And on the front, you can see that you have to have at least 5 sources. One of them being a book. You must read a book throughout the course of your project. In your topic, what are the major events that people are talking about? Who are the major people who are responsible for those events or thinking about your topic? What are the key terms? This is the academic vocabulary. What's the jargon, the lingo, the stuff that, the words people are using that regular outsiders wouldn't know, that you are learning. Different facts that you found interesting, and finally, important quotes that you came across. Identify those. There's 2 of those sheets. Next, another tentpole is an expert interview. You will be, here's all the guidelines, but you will interview an expert in your field of interest. You will prepare a questionnaire and interview the expert you choose. The expert interview project is the listening speaking curriculum area designed for the following purposes. It's so that you get accustomed to interviewing people and gathering information from knowledgeable sources, and also it's relevant, the people who are practicing the things that you are doing. So how do we define an expert? We've had some different working theories. 3 criteria that you at least need to consider. They have education and training in this area. They have at least 5 years of experience in this area, and they get paid for doing this. To me, if they're meeting all 3 of those, that's our minimum criteria for an expert. We can discuss things later on. If you find somebody that you find maybe possesses 2 of the 3 qualities, then we can discuss that later on. You will then interview this person, write a 1 to 2 page paper talking about why you interviewed them, what a summary of the interview itself, and then what you learned from the interview. 1 to 2 pages, not hard. It is a tentpole assignment. It also includes the thank you letter, sample thank you letter that you're going to write to this person after taking the time. Here's the other parts that you know my expectations going into this. These are the rubrics. High expectations for quality for the projects themselves, content depth, complexity, conceptual thinking, and academic vocabulary. No numbers, no grades attached to any of this, but at least you know where the standard is. How to achieve an advanced response. Also, learning behaviors, self-management. Did you need somebody poking you all the time to tell you to get to work? Or are you an autonomous learner? Are you progressing? Effort, your own effort. Content depth, self-assessment. Are you engaging in these practices? Here's 2 more rubrics that are going to help you. One is associated with the product itself, and the other is about the presentation that you're going to be doing. These have Common Core standards associated with them. These are the skills you will be looking at later to develop this other sheet for right here. So now we go back to the standards grid. If you guys can all look at that, the standards grid. You will be identifying the skills that you want to develop further and write those skills down. Minimum 3, as many as you want. So what are some of these standards? You would take them, the wording directly from the rubric here, or if you find another rubric maybe on, or a standard on the National Association of Gifted Children's website. It has awesome gifted standards. There's other places you can go for these standards, the state of Missouri for DESE. We can talk about that. But let's say you want to choose identifies sources of information, promotes divergent and creative perspectives during discussions. That's Common Core 11 through 12.SL.1C. Very technical stuff. You would write that as a skill you want to develop throughout the month. You would identify at least 2 others using that exact wording. It comes directly from here. Then what you will do is take some of these tasks that I've given you ideas for, and I align those with the things you're trying to practice and get better at. So you will take the language from there and put it in there. You would take 2 or 3 of these experiences and put them in there and identify what's using what. as long as you're meeting at least one of these. As long as you're meeting at least one of these. Finally, what is the presentation going to look like? What is your external project, public project, going to look like? And then how are you going to present it to us? Who else are you going to present it to? Another class, a group, an organization, a group of teachers, another individual? You need to be thinking about that. Your self-reflection at the very end of this. What steps did you enjoy most? What could be done later to help you? There's that. And then finally, the presentation log. You're asking questions in relation to your topic associated with the person who's presenting up here. You'd be asking questions if somebody's presenting on how to play guitar. You would be thinking, well, how does my topic relate with this? And you could be writing those kinds of questions down, just as long as you are demonstrating interest as inquirers. That didn't make any sense. You're demonstrating interest as continual learners.